Marriage is a relationship consecrated unto God, a permanent worship relationship.
The essence of a family is to build a strong, happy home.
We should always think before we speak within the Christian family.
Give people opportunity to make mistakes before you start condemning them. So don't just believe that, I can only...
The Christian family has Jesus Christ as a member and head of the family. He's the one who lays down the ethics.
Teach the children the way to go, and the moment they know it, they will never do what? They will never depart from it. That is the essence of communication in a Christian home.
Good day, brothers and sisters in the Lord. Yes, and we also greet you, our audience. We welcome you to this program. It's a program that we are going to look at the topic family time. And it's a prayer that God will speak to us and minister richly unto us as we look at this very, very important topic in the name of Jesus. Amen. The issue of family is something that is dear to the heart of God. And we all know that the family is the first thing that God had to establish, the family unit. And so it is very, very dear to the heart of God that the family must stay together, the family must live together, the family must relate together, and the family must be, in good standing with the Lord. And so as we look at this topic, family time, our emphasis will be to look at relationship in the home and to see what quality time that we spend as members of the family, to ensure that that unit which God has invested a lot on, is moving on as God has, directed it. And so when we look at the family from creation, you will see that God, in His infinite mercy, has made the family unit to be a interrelated unit. In other words, that the family has been there as a unit that has been blended together, the husband, the wife, and of course the children. And for this relationship to continue, there's need for quality time that the family must spend together, first of all with their Creator, and first of all amongst the members that constitute the family. And so we want to look at this issue and see where are we getting it right, where are we getting it wrong, so that we can, life can be restored to the family and we can get it right at the family unit, so that the purpose for which God has established and created the family can still be fulfilled. I want us to look at the aspect of prayer. At another program, we have looked at the family altar, and we have seen that there is no way that we can do things right without actually relating with God. The Bible says that without Him, without God, without Christ, we can do nothing. And that is to say that we need to spend some quality time with God, so that God's purpose can be fulfilled in our life, can be fulfilled in our home. And we want to emphasize the fact that we need to keep the family units together, at least spending quality time with God, so that God can visit us, God can speak to us, we can know the mind of God, and we can do the will of God, as members of the family. And we also want to look at the family time from the perspective of the relationship that should exist between the parents and the children, between the husband and the wife, and between the children. And if you look at our society these days, we can see that these values have been eroded. We don't have that much time that we spend together, at the family level. And because of this, the things that we need to know, the things that we need to do, we are actually failing. And many homes are in disarray because quality time is not being spent together at the family level. And we feel that this has to be restored. This has to be looked at again, so that we can go back to the basis and get it right, the purpose for which God has created the family unit. He has created it for companionship. He has created it for relationship. And the only way this relationship and companionship can be sustained is that we must have good time together as husband and wife, as parents to their children, and of course other members of the family unit. We won't make more of talking. We want, it's going to be an interactive program. I want every one of us to try to make our contributions and to see where we are failing in this area of relationship between the family and between God and between the family units as a whole.
It appears to my mind that the time God has decided to create for mankind in these end times, and the quantum of it is not sufficient for us slow-thinking human beings to achieve what we would have desired to achieve. There are 24 hours in the day. Out of these 24, we'll find that about maybe 10 of it are at night, where we cannot do much. The daylight hours are taken up with our means of sustenance. Work, school, you name it. And we do things within the family at different times. Papa goes to work in the morning, may not come back until about 6 in the evening, sometimes later. In most families, the mother also works and comes home early enough to be able to receive the children from school. The children spend a minimum of 6 hours at school. They are in the hands of other people other than their parents. And for the rest of the daylight times, they are with peer groups, either siblings or non-siblings, being influenced somehow other than the influence of their parents. It seems to me that what families need to do is to analyze the distribution of time spent by each individual in the family to be able to identify a common time when the family can be together. Maybe for two purposes. The first purpose is the family altar time, which we have learned something about in this series. The second purpose is just for mutual interaction and intercourse so as to get to know each other better. It is because parents do not know their children as well as they ought to, and children do not understand the standards of their parents as they ought to, that we have problems in families nowadays. We see, for instance, Eli, who was a priest, a very hard-working priest, who was so bent on doing God's work, he forgot to discipline his children or to bring them up in the way of the Lord. Samuel was one of the most famous judges of Israel, and yet he could not control his children. He worked very hard. God was with him, and yet he was not with his children because they didn't have time together. We pray that such will not happen in our own families. The priest is so loaded down with paperwork in the church and preparation for worship that he has very little time to visit members of the church family. We need to redress this. As you say, where have we got it wrong? These are where the places we have got, some of the places we've got it wrong. Perhaps today what we want to do is to find how we can come back on the straight and narrow path and see how we can get it right. We have had some of the teachings on how to get the family altar time right. What about recreation time? How much games do you play with your children in the house? Even if it's just 1, 2, or 3 of you together, when mommy is in the kitchen, How much time does mommy have with the girls in the house, teaching them how to make the house clean, or even having jokes about unclean or badly dressed other girls, so that she's also teaching the daughter how to dress better as Christian girls? How much time do we have reminding our children that the Holy Spirit is always in the house, waiting to teach us, to counsel us? Because Christ says, "Lo, I will be with you even till the end of the age." And God has also told us that he will never leave us, he will never desert us. If God is always with us and we are misbehaving, how much credit are we getting with God in these end times? We need to get family time in which we can relate to each other and rub off each other. Parents and the children in these end times, because they have access to the internet, and we want to disabuse their minds about the wrong things about the internet, about serving God, we need to teach them, about relating to one another in love within the family. We need this time. How do we reorganize the family time to be able to achieve this?
Thank you very much. Our daddy has spoken rightly, and I think he has looked at the position of the priest and how busy they could be in the discharge of their responsibility. And if you look at it, the same thing can also be seen from the life of those who are not even non-priests. And I will see the businessmen having no time for their siblings in the house. And those who have partial time, they allow their maids, to take the good time in the home, trying to do what should have been done by the children in the home, and eventually we see that what the children are supposed to learn, they are not able to learn it from their parents. It is the maids in the house, the drivers in the house, that try to take the good part of the family time, trying to see what they can impart on the children. And you discover that in most cases, they teach a wrong thing. They teach them what they are not supposed to know, and expose them to all sort of hazards and bad teachings. And I think this is where the parents must sit down and reflect and look at the family unit and see that God has placed a lot of responsibility upon them. Responsibility, to care for the children, responsibility to play their role, responsibility to fill up the gaps where there are gaps, and not to try to, allow, let me use the word, outsiders, to come and invade, the values, the right values that should be taught in the family. And I think I share your view, sir, and we need to actually get it right.
So family time to me is a time parents share with their children, husband and wife share together. It should be a time where parents just watch their children play. Even if you don't interfere, you just watch them play, do some of those so-called meaningless things. Allow them just be themselves. And where you need to correct, you correct. Sometimes if we don't do this, we don't know them. Just allow the child be the child. Just watch them play. Watch the decisions they take. When something is at me amiss, maybe two of them having to play with something, one wants to have all of it, and the other one is complaining, then you can come in, share together. And then you still let them continue. See how they relate, how that goes on, and you know how. By doing that, sir, you will know, you're likely to know your family. You'll be able to predict in a situation like this is what this person is going to do. But like we have all contributed, or we heard you said, this time has been taken over by so many things. We no longer cherish it. Probably we no longer even see the reason why we should create time for this kind of interaction within the family. We allow, even when daddies are at home, well, they allow television to take the better part. We drive the children to, we have what we call children's sitting room. We drive the children to the children's sitting room, allow them to be there alone, probably with the maid too, or drive them to their room, lock them up, put plenty of toys there so that you can concentrate on your computer and do your work. Or, we just get one reason or the other why we don't, even while we are within the house. And the worst one is why we are out, we are most of the time out of our houses. And Daddy has said, now that I've said some of the things I feel is wrong, how do we correct some of these hills, some of these things that are taking a better time or is taking the family time away from us? So first of all, we must learn not to be selfish. We must see that these children are children and allow them to be children. We want most times these children to be adults, and so we are not patient with them. We don't allow them to be children. You don't. So because you don't want to be the child, you end up sending the child away from you. It ought not to be so, sir. We should allow these children play while we correct or watch them or even play with them if need be. Play with them if need be. When I was also growing, sir, we have this habit that when everyone had eaten, my parents, everyone outside the house, we will sit outside. Then all of us will be doing what you know best. So, okay, I can sing. You sing. And we all laugh. If you miss it to a key, we all laugh at you. And the other person will say, I do it better. And then maybe when it's 9, but it's okay, everybody go to your room now. Daddy wants to watch. And then we cherished that time. It helped knit my family, my nucleus family then together. We knew ourselves. We looked forward to it. That even when we were off home, when I want to go back, I look forward to such, times where we just sit down. But we don't have it this day because of the busy nature of our schedules, or maybe because we do not even see reason why we should do it. But I want to encourage parents this day to please allow their children be their children. Let them play with them. Let them feel a part of you. The only time we spend with our children is when we shout. We just shout and shout and shout. And all they know about us is daddy shouts, mommy shouts. There is no time when daddy plays with the children. And what still, our children don't even see daddy and mommy sit together play. For the Christians, we say we don't want to teach them. You don't want to. But I read somewhere in Genesis chapter, I believe is 26. The Bible says there, if you go down to somewhere in verse 7 downwards, you see where Isaac spotted with Rebekah. Such that even an outsider noticed. So it was not done in the secret. They knew that there was some manner of relationship between these two people that made them different from every other person. All right? But everybody wants to be officious. You want to be the boss. You want the wife to be the secretary and the children to be the visitors that come to your office. It doesn't run like that. The home is a home. And so I encourage every parent to please find time to be with the children. Let the children also know that daddy and mommy are in good relationship, cordial, and they also will look forward to have such families. Another thing I also encourage parents to do, sir, is find time to also take them out. Let's see how they relate when they're out. But most times we are on our own. You go for your own program, you drop the children in their own birthdays, and you go. You don't know how they behave out there. When you go with them and you see how they behave, how they react to other people's things, you can correct and we make better families. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Before we allow other people to contribute, I just also want us to reflect over that old practice when we used to have family moon by folk tales
by moonlight.
Sir? Tales by moonlight. And you will see that there was a sort of togetherness in the home, in the family. After the day's work and they have eaten, they try to relax themselves, and enjoy, the atmosphere, the cool of the day, of the night, and start to share thoughts together, share values together, and try to even teach the children some values, some good things, of life. And this is not even in existence again. Why? Because of television is there, and modernization, and I think these are some of the things that we need to recapture. We need to recapture these values so that, it can rub over, the life of the family, the life of the children, the husband, and that will be good relationship. Can we look at this area and maybe some other areas also?
I want to start to say that first, there's a price for everything, including development, technology, modernization, and all that. And some of the things we are seeing today are products of modernization, development, and all that. So we need to see how we can marry the two of them, not in exclusive of others. Some of us grew up in village home settings and all that, and we knew how we grew up and how things were vis-a-vis relationship within the family and generally in the community. But a lot of us now live in the modern world, and it's difficult to live the way we were living in the home setting and all that. As a child, I think by 5 o'clock or thereabout, the bell will chime, and the mother will wake up all the children, go for early morning prayer. That was custom. And there are a couple of churches in my town. Each one of us knew the sound of which church. In other words, when a certain bell rings, I know which church it is and all that. And when there was fasting in the church, my mother will take us as children, where we may not fast the whole day, but at least we were encouraged to fast maybe 12 or something. Okay, so as children, we were brought up like that. But today, that is not the case. So first, I want to say that whether we like it or not, whether we want to admit it or not, most of us have failed as parents. First, we must accept that. And the failure may not necessarily because we intended want to do that, because of the exigencies of life. Most of our parents were farmers, fishermen, and so we were asked to follow them to do things. Today, most of us walk in the civilized part of the world, where, let me give you an example. If somebody lives in Abuja, he has to wake up by 3 a.m. 4 is leaving the house to go to work, and he doesn't come home before 11 o'clock. He has no control over that. Either he works or he does not work. So such a person cannot give that maximal family relationship, except he consciously creates that time. If you ask me, the question is, should you leave that and spend the whole day at home with his family and sit down and chat? At the end of the day, school fees will come, food will come. So these things are there. But the most important thing is, how do you, as a person, marry these things together so that you don't lose out? One, you're able to meet up to your responsibilities as a parent, financially and otherwise, and also the psychological relationship between you and the family. There was a time when we hardly could see. In fact, let me give you an example. There was a time I was living with my nephew in the same house. We never saw each other. All we do is to drop notes for each other, because by the time I go to work, maybe I'm on night duty, I come back to work, he has gone to work. So, I drop a note for him, he drops a note for me. So that's how we are living. How do we see to relate? Okay, and that is how it is for most families. Two, like I said, technology has come too, and so sometimes we now think that, give them the easy things, television, games, and let them that will not take the place of your presence. So you are still needed. So how do you marry these things? So first, parents must accept responsibility of our failure, sometimes because unconsciously or consciously we have gone astray, and come back to really see how we can begin to live right. One of the best ways will be the family altar, which we have talked about. At least, if not anything, you can share a few moments with your family, first thing in the morning or late in the night, no matter how busy. Then the Bible says, shall I give to God that which costs me nothing? Something must give way. Either you are asleep or something. So you cannot have the best of all the worlds. So if you think that, you are busy, you have to leave home by 4, then wake up 3 o'clock to at least share that 30 minutes and all that. Okay? So, because that is the best time that the whole family can. I have a lot of testimonies about family altar. Before we started, it was like, is it possible? But sometimes I sit down and say, when did we start? I just can't remember. And then I go back and I see some materials we have used, but we use every day with Jesus. And I look at, I'm seeing 2004, 2003. You mean for this number of years, we have been doing this. And any day we don't do it, like something is missing in my life. And that is the way it is. And wherever I am, I try to preach it because I've benefited immensely from it. And I try to encourage the men, the guild, and everybody who does not do that. It has a lot of benefits. For example, let me give you even the smallest of them all. For the fact that you have to consciously come in the morning to pray together. You are human beings, you may have some differences. But that consciousness makes you to forgive, because you know that you cannot come to the Lord with grievance and weight. So that alone is an antidote to your family life, to help you and to strengthen you. There are so many benefits, I must tell you. But the point is that it must be structured. It must be something that you can, repeatedly, so that even if you are not there, whoever is there will. So the thing is that we must come back to our first love, that we need ourselves. But the other area is that now if you go to the Western world, because of this break in family life, they don't have time for their family. So they say, okay, Sunday, that's the best time I can have time for my family. So Sunday, let's go and swim. Let's go and play golf. So that also is beginning to erode the other side of it. But we must have, what I'm trying to say, all of us must sit down, because it's not a one solution thing. What is best for me because of my circumstances may not be best for you, but it's for us to sit down under the circumstances, my nature of my work, my time schedule, and all that. How best can we do it? But it is something that is needed. But my recommendation is, at least, if not anything, that family altar is something that we can use. And then two, the other area is today. In fact, there are homes where televisions are all over, in the kitchen, in the everywhere. So everybody, one child, one television. It's affluence, but it also have some destructive elements. I was just thinking, and I said, look, before now, I remember the whole family will come together, sit down to watch one television. It also brings that unity, and all of you are there. Of course, at that time, even when we are watching the television and or maybe somebody brought a video and put it on and we didn't know, and then suddenly there's a scene and everybody is, because daddy is there, mommy is there. Today, the parents are watching something, the children are watching. You don't even know what they are watching, so you're not even trying to keep a tab on them. So everybody, but also bring that all of you are together when you come together and, it's a forum for everybody to, at least, even if you're not seeing anything, for the fact that you're merely together is also something. Take, for example, the day you're alone in the house, and when somebody is also there in the house, even if the person is not sitting down with you, but the fact that there's somebody in another room makes a lot of difference. There's company, even when your wife or your child is somewhere, but even if the person is not, as against when you are just alone. So for the fact that you can sit together, and when you sit together, even because the watching of films and even TV is not just to watch. Sometimes you can even ask questions from what you have. So what have you learned from this? And what is the lesson from this? And you share experiences and talk together. So that is the thing. Television and technology is also driving us apart from ourselves. And we think that affluence is just giving people things to just go and why, but you cannot take away that interpersonal relationship. Most of us have missed it, but this is a forum that has opened our eyes, and I hope it does, to every one of us to reflect and to think back and to really sit down. How is your schedule? How is the schedule of everybody? And how can we, in the midst of all, without losing the fact that we still have responsibilities of finance and all that, find time together and share that fellowship? Because God himself wants to share fellowship. That's why in the coolness of time, he came down and fellowship with Adam and Eve. So that fellowship with him and within ourselves is key and is vital. And once we don't do that, the children will go out and find that fellowship somewhere. And when they come home, we begin to say, where did they learn this from? Because we are not there. So they have to learn it from somebody. May God help us in Jesus' name.
Yes, you have talked about fellowship in the family. There's also another point about recreation, because of the workload and the pressure that we have. And I think there's another aspect of it, or something that is complementary, the aspect of holiday, issue about holiday. And it looks and retreat. It looks as if it's, there are strange things, in this side of the world. Well, don't you think that these are some of the values that Christian family should also look at and see what how can they get the best of this aspect, so that it will further enrich family union, family togetherness, and that relationship we are talking about will be enhanced. And I think although there are many hills on the side of the Western world, but this is a practical thing that I think is a living example that we can imbibe from the Western world. They don't play with the time of their holidays, and you see them when it's that time. If you want to give them whatever money, they are not ready to sacrifice it. When it's time to go on holiday, they will go on holiday. But what is it? Why is it so strange, in this part of the world? And don't you see that there are things we can do, to bring it back and let it be part of our system? Can we make some comments on this?
I want to thank you. I think we have to look beyond the family ties. We have to look beyond the family time right inside the house, right inside the home. I think we have to shift our focus to outside the home. And it is this way I want us to look at it. I want us to look at certain things we have neglected as members of the same family. The husband and the wife send their children to schools, they don't follow up. And part of the family time we can use to make sure we do this follow-up, so that our children would not join bad peer groups, because we don't know what is happening in their universities. So when they are doing, I agree with you, sir, that during public holidays, we can go out, go to recreational centers, the same family having that feel, together in recreational centers. That is part of it. But I want us to add another dimension, to it, that when our children are having one thing or the other to do in their institutions, let us cultivate the habit or find time. I think the panacea to all these bad peer groups that we are having in our higher institutions, in tertiary institutions, is that the parents have neglected the family. They have neglected their children. When they are doing, you might say it is too. What is that when we get matriculation? You might say, what is matriculation? Even when we are doing convocation, you won't see parents there. And the child will know you. We even say that I am not going because my parents will not be there. You will be, you will feel somehow unwanted. I think the family time should be spent with our children, even outside the home. Like you rightly pointed out, taking them out, giving them a treat, attending their functions in the universities, in their even in secondary schools, when they are doing the outing days. Let us as a family, parents should cultivate all this running after glittering things of the world. We have to come back to the drawing board and see that we very soon now our children, they will be having their convocational ceremonies. Let parents go there. Let the children have sense of belonging. Let there be unity. Take your children without fear. No evil shall befall you. Go there and rejoice together. And it will be a landmark thing in the life of that daughter, or in the life of that son, in the life of the children, when family gather together and celebrate without neglecting their duties. I think we have to look beyond the home, the house, and look at even outside. When we look at what are our children doing in their various institutions of higher learning, so that at the end of the day, we will not be found wanting.
Thank you very much. And I think as we try to sum up, all that we have been saying, we are saying that no other person can do this work of bringing up our children or having, peace in our home, in our family, other than the stakeholders, the parties that constitute that family. In other words, the father, the mother, and the children at home. There's need to do what? To close, the gaps, to spend quality time, with the Lord, and to know one another, so that the relationship can be enhanced and the purpose for which God has established the family can be achieved. Yes, can we have more comments?
Thank you so much. When this program is actually going on, sincerely speaking, I see myself as a victim. Because I look at the time I leave house in the morning, and the time I come to church, and the time I go back home. Most of the time you come, the children are asleep, or you just have a few minutes with them before they go to bed. And this made me to begin to think, even if the matter is so constrained in this way, what could be some deliberate measures that should be taken pragmatically? I think one of them is about the issue of holidays they're talking about. As I said, I'm a victim. I work in a private construction company. They find it difficult to grant you leave. You can work for 5 years without leave. They will prefer to pay you the money instead of asking you to go to leave. And for you not to say no, it will just be like you are just running a rebellion against them. So that deliberate measure can come in this way. Deliberate policies can come. That is a must, that any employee under your engagement must go on leave. And there will be a way to monitor it, so that people will not just be out of sheer obedience and be running their health and their families down. And secondly, deliberate measures can also come in terms of the church. We have program by 6, for example, and most people who are coming to that program are driving from office. And sometimes we stay after 8, And somebody that stays after 8 in the church and is running home may take in the next 30 minutes, an hour to reach home. We're talking about 8:30, 9 p.m. Children who are going to go to school very early in the morning must have gone to bed. So on that side also, the church may have some deliberate timing to say that family are given some time to go home. And also at home, we can also take some deliberate measures. For example, what is the need? I have a brother that decided to put his children in what we may call boarding school at primary level. And I tried to tell him something, but he didn't want to take it. But that is not only him. Many people do like that. Now, it is common thing that once a child finishes basic, is it basic what now? 6, the child goes to secondary school, goes to boarding school. Somebody can have a deliberate measure. Let this child still be at home and run the next 3 years before he cannot go to boarding school and finish up. Those could be deliberate measures. When I was coming to church today, my little child saw a mast and started calling it crane. And I was annoyed with her. I told her, I taught you these things before. Where have you forgotten them? And when did I teach her those things? That was the time I was running school run with her in the morning. And when I come to construction area like this, I tell her this is crane. I tell her this is mast. The crane is used to lift up heavy things. The mast is used to hang something on the air. And she picked all those things easily. But for a long time, I would have disengaged from that. And this morning, when she saw those things, she was calling them other names. And when I wanted to get annoyed with her, I called myself. For a long time, people have not repeated these things. So deliberate measure can come there. Okay, this school run, let me run it. Within a few minutes, that child is in the motor with you, driving the child there. It's not that you couldn't have paid the school bus, but there will be some few minutes of interaction. And also, it may sound funny. I'm one of men who will prefer their wives not to have car. If my wife has car, runs her way, I run my way, when will she still be sitting around me when I'm driving? I'm sorry to say this, but I would also consider it as one of deliberate measures, but not to the extreme. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The last speaker was just trying to give us some practical steps, that we can take, to ensure that, this issue of quality family time is enhanced, and I think those suggestions are very valuable. But he talked about that aspect that has to do with governments, and I think our government agencies in charge of labor should try to, get this message that there are some establishments that are not, adhering to the ILO regulations. And I think leave is an important thing. It must be enjoyed by every worker, and I think this is something that must be taken to the government needs to actually address to ensure that the workers enjoy their rights as it were. And of course, he has also pointed an accusing finger to the church, and I think the message is clear. Yes.
I believe that any manager or executive who does not go on annual recreation leave is either a thief who doesn't want to be found out, because if he went on leave, somebody will discover what he has been up to, or he has been on leave all the time. He has not been productive. And any employer that wouldn't allow staff to go on leave is enhancing those two syndromes. Government or private sector or even church should take note of this, because it has been found by management experts that any human being that does not have a recreation time becomes gradually unproductive systematically. It's what they call it, the principle of reducing values. It's an economic principle. But we're not in that area. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the family time. I don't know if we have any Ijaw person here in modern times. How many times have you gone fishing in recent times? No. And how many from my part of Nigeria, the southwestern part, where we used to grow plenty of yam and things like that, how many of you grow anything in your garden now? Long, long ago, I had a child in preschool. And the teacher called me one afternoon and said, I need to talk to you. Your child has a problem. So I went to the school. He said, he doesn't seem to be able to grasp what is right and what is not right. I said, explain yourself. He said, well, we are doing word association with pictures. And I showed this child a picture of somebody working in the garden. And we're supposed to say whether it's fun or work. And the child says, fun. And I showed the child about somebody reading. I say, what is this? And the child says, work. This is not supposed to be the right response. And I said, did you ask the child why he said these things? So, oh, I didn't. I said, let's call him and find out. So we called Tokumbo. And Tokumbo said, when Daddy is in the garden working, we all have fun because we work with him. But when Daddy is in the study, reading or writing, Mommy says, shh, Daddy is at work. And we dare not go near. So you can see, the time in the garden, planting things. By the way, I can never live in a place where I can't plant something. The time in the garden with these guys is fun time. Because when they learn that things grow, and you tell them why they grow, water, the nutrient in the soil, and God's blessing, and they learn it, and they know that it can be useful for humans. But when you are hiding away somewhere, not recreating in any way, it doesn't work. And a Ijaw man who doesn't go fishing with his child is not a proper Ijaw man. Honestly. If I were an Ijaw man, I'm not an Ijaw man, but when I had the opportunity and the equipment, I used to go fishing with my children. And in fact, I've just made up my mind that I'll start it all over again. And continue. You see, this is what it's all about. That small thing you do together. Your wife, as my brother there says, that sits beside you when you are driving, even though you have a driver. And I said to my wife, I will drive you to the market. He said, let the driver do his work. I said, no, I will drive you to the market. And where we are going, we say a few things. Those are intimate times. These little things, when you can't schedule large times, you must, what's the word you used about time? We must harness, or what's the word? It's in the Bible. Redeem. You must redeem the time. You must redeem the time, because these are end times and every little bit counts. When you don't allow that little bit to count, you waste it. And God says, let nothing be wasted, not even time.
We seem to have hammered a lot on the fact that it's necessary to go on holidays. I want to say holidaying does not necessarily mean going out of the country. Many of us don't go to our villages anymore. We can only day in our village or some other person's village. Let's even try out within Nigeria. That will not be as costly as having to go out. If you have the fun to go out, I don't have anything against it. But rather than not going because of lack of fun, let's find a better way or a simpler way of doing it. Let's go to our villages, go to some other person's own, look around, and then you come back. Just be yourself. Having said that, sir, I've heard all of us contributed to the fact how to be together. Something kept moving in my heart. When we are together, what do? Most times we quarrel when we are together. And so families don't look forward to it. Somebody told me one day, my boss was cracking a joke with us one day. He said, see, women and their troubles. And they say, you don't stay around. I stayed around today. By the time it was 3, she asked, are you not going out? Wanted him out of the house. And I was wondering in my heart, what could be the reason? Left for me, probably you didn't add value to her day. Okay, you have not created fun. So it's better go and let's even have some manner of peace around this place. So please, what we do together matters a lot too, so that we can sustain what we call family time. We should learn to come down from our high horses to be at our children's level. It doesn't necessarily mean the child will, disrespect you. No. Most times, family time enhances relationship, respect, and that confidence, yes. So please, I encourage us to look at what we do together when we are together. Don't let's make it a quarrel time. Let's be able to sacrifice. Let's be able to allow the other person have his or her way. Let's do things that will make every member of the family look forward to family time rather than wanting to run away from family time. Another thing that has been of help to us that I may also suggest to this house, when we come back on Sunday afternoon, while maybe taking lunch, and we just all be talking over lunch. Yes, what did you learn from Sunday school today? This person will tell you, or maybe after lunch, so that people won't go the wrong way. Before everybody decides to go to their various rooms, you say, okay, sit down. Yes, what did you learn from Sunday school? This one will tell you. Even if you went to another church, tell us what the preacher said today. By so doing, you have another view. You have heard something else. Spiritually, you are enhanced. Also, there is that closeness, that neatness in the family. And it occurs in the child that if I don't listen, my mommy will ask. My dad is going to ask what we learned today. And so when you get there, by right, because they're going to ask, you sit down and listen. So in all of it, it's been a help. It's been the benefits has been overwhelming. And I want to sell it to both to this, everyone here, and even to the audience watching, that you can find time to ask your children, what did they learn today? By so even if it's 15 minutes in a day, if one did not get it right, we all laugh, everybody laugh, you laugh it away, you ease off before everybody departs to their various room. It has helped us, and I know it will be of help to you too.
Thank you very much. And on this note, we draw the curtain for this program. We want to appreciate your contributions, and we have concluded on the fact that the family must stay together, and the only way they can stay together is to have quality time with God and with one another, and that will enhance the relationship and will enable them to achieve the purpose for which the family unit has been established by God. Thank you very much, and God bless you.